2002, a dark corner of the internet, an obscure OpenGL forum. A post appears.
I want to write a SUDO system. Anyone want to join?
The poster was Nicholas Francis, a Danish programmer who secretly wanted to be a film director. Answering him was Joachim Ante, a high school student from Germany. To turn their spaghetti code into a product, they brought in David Helgeson. Their fates intertwined in a basement in Copenhagen. David called those days a slow-moving panic. He worked cafe shifts downstairs to keep the lights on, while they burned through their only runway, 25,000 euros from Joachim's dad. Their dream was simple: make a game called GooBall. But reality hit hard. Game engines back then cost 6 figures. Broke and desperate, they had to write their own. And because they were artists as much as coders, they built something radically different. Old engines like Quake used BSP brushes, carving worlds out of solid blocks like stone. Rigid, destructive. Unity said, screw that. They invented the GameObject system. Empty boxes you could fill with components. Light, add a light component. Physics, add a rigid body. It wasn't stone carving, it was Lego. But the real magic was editor scripting. Need to place 1,000 trees? Don't drag them one by one, write a tiny script, and suddenly you have a forest painter tool right in the interface. You weren't just using the engine, you were expanding it. They released GooBall in 2005. It flopped hard. They were barely eating, but they looked at the tools they'd built, polished, powerful, and realized the shovel is worth more than the gold. They pivoted. Over-the-edge entertainment became Unity. 2005, Unity 1.0. The industry pros laughed. It's a toy engine, they said, comparing it to the gritty realism of Unreal Engine 3.
Unreal Engine 3 uses a per-pixel lighting model.
But Unity had a secret weapon. See, in Unreal C++, you are the janitor. You create a bullet, you must destroy it. Forget, and your game crashes. Unity used C#. It has a garbage collector that cleans up your mess automatically. Slower, yes, but for a solo dev, it was a miracle. Focus on fun, not plumbing. Then, luck struck.
The App Store.
2008, the App Store. The smartphone era exploded. AAA engines couldn't run on phones with 128 megabytes of RAM. Unity could. Overnight, it became the mobile engine. Check your phone, half your games are Unity. In 2010 brought the Asset Store. Can't model? Buy a dragon. Can't code? Buy an inventory system. It made solo dev a reality, but it cast a long shadow, the asset flip. Steam flooded with junk built from store packs.
Happened to everyone?
They're all gone.
Made with Unity became shorthand for cheap garbage. Unity needed to prove it could do high-end. 2015, Unity 5. They baked in high-end lighting, dropped pro restrictions, and released the Atom demo. It looked incredible. A wave of indie masterpieces followed. Ori, Hollow Knight, Cuphead, Genshin Impact. Proof that the engine wasn't the limit, you were. But with power came complexity. The industry split into a war of philosophy, code versus nodes. Unreal has blueprints, visual wires for designers. Great for prototyping, but it can turn into spaghetti code. Unity stuck to C#. Yes, the learning curve is a cliff. You have to type, but 5 lines of clean code can replace 50 messy nodes. It forces you to think like an engineer. Then the architecture started creaking. Unity tried a heart transplant, SRP, Scriptable Render Pipeline. They smashed the black box of rendering open, URP for mobile and HDRP for consoles. The intention was noble, total control. The result was chaos. Shaders broke, everything turned pink. The pink material nightmare became a meme. September September 12, 2023, Unity dropped a bomb, the runtime fee. Starting in 2024, developers would pay up to 20 cents for every install. User reinstalls, pay. Pirated games, pay. Charity games, pay. The industry exploded. It wasn't just the money, it was the model. Compare it to Unreal. Unreal takes 5%, but only after you make your first million. It's a partnership. Unity's fee was a tax on popularity. You could go viral with a free game and owe more than you made. It felt like a betrayal. The CEO, John Riccitiello, stepped down. He was a controversial figure, famous for once suggesting Battlefield players should pay $1 to reload their ammo.
When you are 6 hours into playing Battlefield and you run out of ammo in your clip and we ask you for $1 to reload, you're really not very price sensitive at that point in time.
His exit felt like an exorcism, but the scars remain. 2024, the landscape has changed. Unreal dominates AAA, Black Myth Wukong. Godot is the open source champion, but Unity, it's still the workhorse. 51% of Steam games, and in virtual reality, it has no rival. While Unreal chases movies, Unity is the operating system for the real world. Meta Quest, Apple Vision Pro, 90% of XR is Unity. Why? Because when you need 90 frames per second on a mobile headset, you don't need raw power, you need efficiency. You need that Lego flexibility. And now, AI is entering the chat. Unity Muse generating 3D assets from text. Make me a red car that jumps. That's the next frontier. The story of Unity isn't just about a company. From 3 guys in a basement eating cheap noodles to a giant that lost its way and is trying to find it back. Look, let's be real. Nobody playing your game cares what engine you used. If you want movie graphics, learn Unreal. If you want open source freedom, use Godot. But if you want speed, if you want to take a crazy idea and have it on your phone by the weekend, that is still Unity's superpower. So don't overthink the tool. Just pick one and build. Because honestly, the world has enough engine wars. What we're missing is your game.